And let's remind you of our top story. The Israeli army is raiding Gaza's largest hospital, where thousands of civilians are sheltering. It says its forces are conducting an operation within specific areas of the Shifa compound. Earlier, hospital officials said Israel warned them that it would raid the facility within minutes. Airstrikes have bombarded the area for days, and tanks have now surrounded the hospital. Let's stay with this. We're joined now by Ardi Imseis, a professor of international law at Queen's University, and he's also a former UN official who served in Gaza. Thank you very much for your time. What do you make of the statement from Hamas that the US government has essentially given Israel the green light to go into Shifa Hospital? Because just hours before they did, we heard from the US National Security spokesperson John Kirby, who said that the US had its own evidence that Hamas operates from hospitals, from al-Shifa Hospital, despite not providing any evidence, but that airstrikes on the hospital are not okay.
Well, look, if the Israelis and the Americans have specific evidence to demonstrate that a civilian object, in this case, a Shifa hospital, has been converted into a military one, it's incumbent upon them to produce that evidence, and they have yet to do so. And so when the attacking party, in this case, the Israelis, claim something, they have to produce the evidence, and failure to do so just results in one conclusion, that the civilian character of the hospital is to be presumed under international law and therefore immune from attack. Based on the information that I've been hearing over the course of this segment of your report, the fact that the Israelis are physically in the hospital means that we're in a really sensitive time with thousands of people in the hospital, civilians, that is, and that means that it's only a matter of time that the Israelis will have an opportunity to produce this evidence. Israel's repeated claims that its military intelligence has evidence to substantiate the fact that its claims that this hospital is being used as a military base have yet to be demonstrated.
Yeah.
And so absent that, there's not going to be much to go on.
And Mr. Imseis, as we've been reporting, Israel has never provided any evidence that Hamas uses hospitals to carry out operations, and they haven't been verified by a third party. But even if that was the case, is there anything that justifies, and we've been hearing from Human Rights Watch earlier in this program, and they were saying that nothing justifies the kind of attacks that we've seen on hospitals. Are we seeing war crimes unfolding in front of our eyes?
Well, we certainly have seen war crimes unfolding before our eyes over the course of this month. In respect of what's happening in Shifa right now, it's hard to say. What we can say is that the object, being a hospital, is a civilian object. And until such time as the Israelis provide proof that it has been converted into a military object, that, as I said earlier, that civilian nature of the object does not change. Now, the obvious thing to do, of course, is to allow a third party into the territory, into the hospital. The Israelis, if they've got it surrounded by tanks, have controlled the area. And given the heightened sensitivities of their claim that this hospital's been used by and abused by Palestinian paramilitaries, they should, I think, reasonably invite third parties in. There are third parties available: the International Committee of the Red Cross, the United Nations Commission of Inquiry on Israel-Palestine. I'm certain that they would stand ready to enter the hospital to corroborate any claims the Israelis make. But given the historical record of Israeli claims of this sort never having been proved by the Israelis or ex post facto, see the Goldstone report, for instance, of 2009 as an example, or even most recently the raid of the Israelis on the Rantisi hospital, where film footage, which I watched earlier today, purports to show a list of Palestinian terrorists and so on. All one needs to do is read that list in the Arabic language, and you would see that it only shows the days,
of the week
listed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the claims really aren't substantiated. And again, as I say, there's a major credibility problem for the Israelis. They claim their military intelligence demonstrates that this hospital has been used and is being used
But there's
as we speak,
even though
as a basis of
yeah.
Palestinian paramilitary action. And this is the same military intelligence that failed to identify or anticipate the October 7th
and
attacks on it.
Despite the credibility problem, there's also a great accountability problem, is there not? Because this is not the first time that Israel has attacked hospitals, and I'm not talking about the first time since October 7th. I mean, Israel has been attacking hospitals for years. Has it ever been held accountable for that?
Well, the short answer is no. It's not ever been held accountable because the international community has not made Israel and held Israel to account for it. As an occupying power, Israel has an obligation to ensure the protection of the civilian population subject to its military occupation, not to persecute it, not to target it. It must treat it humanely and so on. And we've seen the exact opposite take place over the course of the past month. While Israel may have had an obligation to protect its citizens from the attacks of 7 October, it's gone well beyond anything proportionate or necessary to repel those attacks since October the 7th. And for the past month has killed thousands, over 11,000 Palestinians, over 4,500 Palestinian civilians, and so on. And
4,500 Palestinian children. Mr. Imseis, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we have run out of time. But we thank you so much for being with us and sharing your expertise on the subject. We really appreciate it.